Right now, more than 400,000 Americans have become 401k millionaires. Fidelity, which manages retirement accounts for over 45 million people, has watched that number climb steadily for over a decade, straight through crashes and recoveries alike. It is a genuinely great statistic, and if the story stopped there, the lesson would be simple. Put every dollar you can into your traditional 401k, and time does the rest. Here is what that headline never tells you. For a meaningful slice of those same high savers, hitting that number inside a traditional pre-tax account quietly builds a tax bill that shows up decades later at exactly the moment they can least afford to be surprised by it. Before we go further, a quick disclaimer. Everything in this video is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It is not personalized financial, tax, or legal advice. My goal is simply to walk through how this math actually works, so you can bring sharper questions to your own advisor or your own plan, because the right answer always depends on your specific numbers. So let's make this concrete, because a tax problem means nothing until we attach real dollars to it. Imagine you have done everything right. You saved consistently for 30 years, mostly into a traditional 401k, and you land on $1,500,000 by the time you retire. That money grew tax deferred the whole way, which felt like a win. Every single year you did not pay a cent of tax on it. But deferred is the important word. It means postponed, not forgiven. The IRS eventually requires you to start pulling money out, whether you need the income or not, through what is called a required minimum distribution, or an RMD, right now that begins at age 73, and it is scheduled to move to 75. On a $1,500,000 balance, that first required withdrawal alone can be well over $50,000 in a single year, stacked on top of Social Security, any pension, and any part-time income you are still earning. Picture a household bringing in a combined $90,000 a year in retirement from those three sources alone. That already puts a meaningful share of their income into a higher marginal bracket before a single additional withdrawal is even considered. And unlike your working years, when a slow month or a bonus could shift things year to year, this income is largely locked in by the RMD table itself. Think of it like filling a bathtub for 30 years without ever pulling the plug, and then being told at 73 that the drain is now mandatory, at a size the IRS sets. Whether the tub is exactly where you want it to be or not, the water still has to go somewhere, and where it goes is your taxable income for that year, whether you need to spend it or not. Now, the reassuring story you have probably heard 100 times is that your taxes will simply be lower in retirement because your income is lower. That is true for plenty of people. But look closely at what actually happens for a high saver in this exact position, and that story starts to fall apart. Your paycheck disappears? Sure. But your taxable income does not shrink the way you would expect, because the RMD forces money out of that account every single year, and the account itself is often still growing faster than the withdrawals are pulling it down. Vanguard's own modeling on large traditional balances shows exactly this. Many accounts between $1 and $2 million keep compounding faster than the required withdrawals shrink them, which means the required withdrawal and the tax bill attached to it tends to get bigger most years, not smaller. Here is the mechanism underneath that, in plain terms. A 4 to 6% withdrawal off a large traditional balance can land you squarely in the 22%, 24%, or even 32% federal bracket, especially once a pension is added in. On top of that, a portion of your Social Security becomes taxable once your other income crosses certain thresholds, and those thresholds have never been adjusted for inflation. Medicare premiums step up too, through what are called IRMAA surcharges, once income crosses specific lines. None of this shows up as one big scary number. It shows up as a series of smaller, compounding costs that Morningstar's research has found routinely push high-saving retirees with $1 to $3 million in tax-deferred accounts into a higher lifetime tax bill than if more of that money had gone into a Roth account years earlier. And that is really the core insight. The tax code does not reward putting everything into one bucket. It rewards spreading your savings across a traditional account, a Roth account, and a regular taxable brokerage account, so that in retirement you can choose which bucket to pull from and manage your bracket on purpose instead of being forced into it by a formula. The same logic runs in reverse earlier in your career. Let's use a simple example. Say you start out earning $60,000 a year, sitting in the 12 or 22% bracket. Your income grows a modest 2% a year, right in the range that researchers at the National Bureau of Economic Research studied when they compared these two strategies. Fast forward 15 or 20 years, and that same person might be earning around $140,000, now sitting in the 24% bracket or higher, once bonuses and promotions are factored in. If every one of those early dollars went into a traditional account, the tax break you received back then was only worth 12 or 22 cents on the dollar. But when that same money eventually comes out as a required withdrawal decades later, it can be taxed at 24% or more. You banked a small discount early and paid a larger bill later. Flip it around, and the same dollar contributed to a Roth account in your 20s or 30s is taxed once at that low rate and then grows completely tax-free for the rest of your life, with no required withdrawal ever forcing it out. The TIAA Institute has found workers in the lowest 3 tax brackets early in their careers are far more likely to come out ahead with Roth contributions, precisely because their income keeps climbing. There are a few other honest reasons your next dollar might not belong in a traditional account at all. A plan carrying genuinely high fees, where even a 1% difference in cost can erode 20 to 30% of your final balance over a career. Industry studies show large employer plans with 1,000 or more workers often charge somewhere around 4 to 0.6% all in, while smaller plans under 100 employees can run closer to 1.75%. That gap compounds every single year you are invested, quietly, in the background, long before you ever notice it on a statement. A real need for liquidity is another one. This is exactly the kind of deeper breakdown I go into further with the May Retire community over on Ko-fi. If you want to go a layer deeper on any of this, the link is right there in the description. So here is the reframe I want you to leave with. The question was never, should I stop contributing to my 401k? That framing is the clickbait version. The real question, the one worth revisiting every single year, is this. Given my tax bracket today, my likely tax bracket later, and how I actually plan to retire, where should my next dollar go? Sometimes that answer is still the traditional 401k. Sometimes it is the Roth. Sometimes it is simply paying down debt or building the emergency fund first. There is no universal answer, and anyone who tells you there is one is selling you the headline, not the plan. In the next video, I want to walk through exactly how to run this analysis on your own numbers, step by step, so you can figure out which bucket your next dollar actually belongs in. I will see you there.